Good. Okay, this morning's Oregon Sound Board meeting will come to order, and Jennifer, would you do the roll call, please?
Absolutely. Carl Walter,
Here.
Lori Fitzgerald here, Harlan Kai,
Here.
and Steve Jernigan.
And then item number 3 is approval of 2 sets of minutes, and these are both the meetings where candidates did the presentations. So we have an April 29th set of minutes, and then the May 1st minutes. Anybody have any comments or questions about those or edits?
I just apologize. I wasn't here for the second day for the other 2 presentations. It was unavoidable. I went through the video multiple times. It's much easier in person than it is watching somebody's back and listening to them. Because that's basically what it is.
No, understandable.
I spent a long time listening to that and going back and listening to Tim's as well. And I hope I got everything out of it.
Okay, then without objection, the April 29th and May 1st minutes are approved. For item number 4, if you go to page 5 of the packet, then we'll pick up the process where we ended off more or less. So some of this is a reminder. Prepping for the vote, the nominations and then the actual vote, by statute, the town clerk also has a vote, is entitled to vote. Anybody on the board, this 5-member board today with Jennifer, is able to make a nomination, but you're not required to. Each nomination must be seconded in order for that applicant to continue on to the voting. If someone's already been nominated and seconded, then you don't need to do it. Even if that may be the candidate you ultimately vote for, you do not need to renominate you don't need to renominate anyone. So then of the 3 applicants, any that receive a nomination and a second will go on to the voting step. In between the nominations and the voting, we'll have a period of time where if you want to, you can make comments about the candidate that you support. It's not required at all. For the nominations themselves, I'll open up the nomination period. And then at that point, it just opens the floor to nominations. So anyone may nominate a candidate. Anyone may second a candidate. And then if there is an applicant who either isn't nominated or isn't seconded, they will not proceed to the vote. Then at the end of that process, I'll close that and then we'll go into the voting. The voting is the way that we'll do it is a roll call vote. So we'll go around and you'll vote for your candidate. It's not a paper ballot or anything like that. It's verbal. And it'll be recorded, by board member or by town clerk. When one of the applicants has 3 votes, that's a majority in this case, and that would be the person that fills the vacancy for the remainder of the term. If there's a tie, then there's a tie process, a tie-breaking process. Essentially what we do is re-vote, and then if there's still a tie, then we do point. Any questions about that?
Carl, I just want to clarify, because I think last year might have been concerned. You can nominate and you can second, and you could do that multiple times, correct?
It doesn't say.
Okay,
There was a question about that. I think Arlen had a question about that, and it doesn't say. So
because you
to
vote
me,
is the final one when you vote.
the vote is the final,
Yeah.
right? But to me, and again, it doesn't say specifically. We didn't build this into the procedure, so maybe but we decided to stick with this procedure. It doesn't say there's. If we're in the flow here now and we have a preferred candidate, to me, it doesn't make sense to vote for 2 people. or to second two nominations. Again, I'm just giving you my opinion on that. It's not specified in this procedure. So I would, I guess, look to the rest of you and say, okay, let's either follow the procedure or make a sort of a call on whether or not we modify a little bit based on the absence of guidance in the procedure. And that would be to allow either two nominations or 2 seconds. I think ultimately what could happen is we just end up with all 3 candidates in the vote. You know, so we could say, I wouldn't skip the nominations, but ultimately that's what could happen. That wasn't the spirit of the procedure, but it would be parallel to what you would see on a ballot, on a paper ballot during an election.
With all 3 on.
Yeah, except I think in most cases, we would only have 2, correct? If it's a paper ballot, if there's 1 vacancy, you would have 2 candidates. The primary would have weeded out anybody 3 or more. So that's if I think of it as trying to match up to a paper ballot as closely as possible, and you wouldn't be able to vote for 2 people. Now, if it's primary, you can't necessarily, if there's 1 vacancy and it's a primary, you can't vote for 2 people. If it's the election, the general election, and there are 2 candidates on the ballot, you also can't vote for 2 people, you vote for 1. So to me, it makes more sense to say, okay, you are able to nominate 1 person, you're able to second 1 other nomination.
I guess I don't agree.
So,
We have 3 candidates.
right,
And maybe I see something less onerous and if they are nominated, that it still comes down to the vote. And we still need to have a 3-person affirmative, whether we have 3 candidates on there or 1. So I see no merit in not allowing multiple nominations and seconds.
yeah, and I don't have a hard and fast opposition to that. You know, I just think well, let me ask Lori and Steve, what opinions on that too, and Jennifer too, you're in the vote also.
I can see a situation where we nominated, everybody who wanted to nominate a candidate had a chance to do that. It would probably only be 2 because we need two nominations and 2 seconds.
Mhm,
And then we could vote on the 2.
mhm.
Is that?
That's essentially what the procedure is, I think.
Yeah,
It's more or less the spirit of the procedure,
Yeah.
even though there's a missing piece
Yeah.
that says you can't.
would there be such a thing as, then the other option I see is you could have 1 nomination and a second, and then the vote, and if the vote did not produce a winner, then ask for a second.
I think
But
that's,
I always think it's fairer to just get the nominees out on the table all at once, right? Wouldn't you think?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and then we would just go through and vote for each one.
Because I don't, we're a small board.
Yes,
We do not have a room full of supervisors here.
participate.
And I think the name should be, quite literally, I think we should be having as many candidates represented for
Yeah,
vote
yes,
as we can have,
yeah.
and not limit the number of nominations that one could be making.
Steve and Jennifer, any strong feeling on that? Any objection to that? Because I'm fine with doing that also.
You know, I don't want to infer anything that's not in the governance for the policy of electing. So I have no problem with multiple nominations. That's what you were referring to.
Right. Jennifer? Any?
Yeah, all sounds good.
Okay, so I think Probably what we should do is a motion to modify the procedure and essentially skip the nomination process and go right to the vote.
Oh, I thought that they wanted nominations.
Well,
We still can have nominations.
do we need them though?
Yeah, I think so.
Hmm.
Somebody may still not be nominated.
That's true.
I guess I was kind of aligning it to when we used to have caucus and they used to nominate people. That
Okay.
kind of would fit with that. Well, that kind of, I'm trying to relate it to something else that, where you nominate people in that way. And then I think you could nominate, you can nominate multiple people at a caucus, and then basically it takes the place of a primary, yeah, essentially. So I think
Yeah.
that's kind of would be
So-
like the
So
process
as
here.
board members, are we prohibited from seconding more than one nominee? Or nominating more than?
That's what I
one?
think we were trying to,
Yeah.
that's what we were trying to
Yeah.
get at, is
Yeah,
because there was a little question last time.
yeah.
Right.
I think you could second, I think the general is you could nominate and second as many as you feel
I think so.
necessary, and then.
Yeah, I
you
think
go
that's what
from
we're
there.
saying is that there's no limit.
Mhm.
And it doesn't seem like that the procedure precludes that.
So it's, let's do that. And I don't think we need to vote on that. I don't think we need a motion for that. So the change in not the written policy, but the change is that there's no limit on nominations. There's no limit on seconding a nomination. Sound right to everyone? Okay. All right, so let's, let me open nominations from the floor. And no particular order, if you have a nomination to make, then please do it.
I would like to nominate Tim LeBrun.
And do you hear a second for that?
I'd second.
Any other nominations?
Yes, I would like to nominate Rob. And I need his last name.
Dart.
There. Yes, I would like to nominate Rob.
Any seconds to that?
I'll second.
I'd not nominate Dave. Dave Hickman.
I'll second that.
Okay, and that's our list of candidates right there. So let me close the nominations. And then, so this is the optional part where if you have any comments you want to make about a candidate that you support, you're able to do it now. You don't have to.
I would like to make a comment
Sure.
about all of the candidates.
Okay,
All of the candidates are excellent candidates, and this is, I think the board should feel very blessed that we had 3 strong applicants. And that also makes it very difficult, a decision, because everyone has strengths that they would bring to the board. And I personally think this should be the way all of our positions are approached, with multiple applicants, contested seats and so on. And so I hope that the people who are not selected today seriously consider, every year people have to run again for one of the seats, 2 of the seats come up. So I'm really hoping that the people who, whoever doesn't get selected gets right in there at the end of December and puts in nomination papers.
Mhm.
I just am very happy about it. It shouldn't just be people who end up doing it over and over again without any opposition. So that's my piece.
Can I just add to that? I do think also that it's a great group of candidates. And for the 2 that don't fill the vacancy, we have committees galore.
That too.
So you don't have to wait till December or the election. There may be a committee that either exists or might be created to match talents and things like that. So committees are an option too. And I know Dave, I'm just looking at you because you're here, and, but you're already, you're active already. Any other comments or anything?
I would agree with what I've heard. When I looked at all three candidates and listened to all three and read their answers to the questions. I was humbled because when I first started running for this seat, I had no idea what I was doing, which also I think is a strength, is you don't have to, as long as you're willing. I was kind of humbled that there's few people out there that have more experience than I did. And the learning curve won't be quite as steep.
Well, yes, we do have a lot of things to be thankful for the talent that's coming forward, and we have a visioning process slot to be going in there. If I'm looking at the immediate needs, not immediate, but the issues that are coming before us, I would like to offer support for Tim LeBrun to be, he has some very interesting talents and background that in finance and community service that would be I'd be voting for him because of his complementary skills that are within the needs of the town for the coming years in the financial background.
Thank you. Jennifer, anything?
I would say they're all wonderful. I know some of them more than others and they're all great, so any of them would be wonderful. I'm pleased with them all, so.
Okay, and then we were gonna shift to the voting right now, and it'll be a roll call vote, as I said before. And then what you will do is just name the candidate that you vote for. Jennifer, whenever you're ready.
I get to go first.
You could either do the roll call,
Oh.
or you could roll call yourself.
I'll do the roll
You could
call.
roll call yourself and then vote at the same time.
I'm just gonna go in just like a random order, so that it seems like then, Arlen Kai,
Tim LeBrun.
Lori Fitzgerald,
I'll vote for Rob.
Steve Jernigan,
Dave Hageman.
and Carl Walzer.
Tim LeBrun.
And I will vote for Tim LeBrun.
And that gives Tim 3 votes, so Tim is the nominee and will fill the vacancy. And for Rob and Dave, thank you. Thank you for applying and participating in this. And as we said before, a couple minutes ago, if you want to become even more active for Dave and then active for Rob, then there are ways that we can make that happen. So I appreciate it. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Dave.
Yes,
Thank
thanks
you.
again, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, that is it for agenda item number 5. For 6 and 7, this was just on the agenda again. It'll be on the Tuesday agenda. I did want to just point out one thing. So really, I think actually is, should we just talk about it on Tuesday? The idea of Caden and another person.
Do you want, I mean, we have just a small bit of time if you want to talk about it. It's like 8:22, their meeting starts at 9. I just, with Steve here, it's sometimes good to talk about it, so you don't have to read 20 emails.
I will.
But it might get a little confusing.
Well, let's just give item 6 a couple minutes, and I can set a couple minutes, and I
Sure.
think we'll be out of here by half an hour.
So I sent Carl an email, but maybe I sent it to all of you, can't remember, I try to limit them, but I talked to Ryan and Abel and they are not here unfortunately. Steve Root had suggested he might have someone, we just don't know if the person he has is 18. So Carl's idea was to have 2 employees that would work together. And seeing if that process would work. So the 18-year-old could drive the vehicles, could move around from park to park.
Or old, I mean, 18 or older.
18 or older, right. So once we know if that candidate Steve had was an option or not, then we can decide if we would need to put an ad in the paper to get someone to help for the summer. So I guess kind of where we're at is needing someone who's 18 or older to help move the equipment from park to park. The guys said they could do it, but it's not super convenient for them to do it. And timing wise, it's a little off.
Yeah, especially with, say, well, a couple things. The idea of the reciprocity work for different municipalities pulls them away, pulls Ryan and Abel away. And then also we talked about if they are away, there's nobody in Public Works. And so having a Caden and someone else more available, more readily available would be a good thing. You know, in case there's a low level emergency, you know, if he falls over or something.
At least someone that could drive to the site, get it off. We did talk a little bit about, last year, one of the Torque employees, Mike, had mentioned he might be interested in mowing. So Lori, we were gonna float the idea, if the guys brought the mower to the Torque, if possibly on Saturdays, Mike would be interested in mowing the Torque.
Cool.
And so, you know, whether he did it on Saturday or he did it on Sunday, he's already an employee.
Right.
This would be just for him to mow the Torque, and that might help free up some of what the guys have to do. And so would you be able to ask Mike or have Sheldon or talk to Sheldon or to, you know, someone, you know, one of the Torque employees, would they be able to fit that in?
I'll bring that up with them.
And is
and
that
get
okay
back
with
to
the
you.
board?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Okay,
I'll get back to you on that.
okay,
Talk to Sheldon.
okay. I guess that would, you know, involve the guys just getting the tractor there. And then them using it and then would go away. But then that way it would get the Torque mode and that would be one less.
One less, and plus the transport issue.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So I guess
Okay.
that's where we're at.
Oh.
So we're just kind of waiting to see.
Who's available. Yeah, what
And so
the-
Steve, there's a, what, if you weren't here, but there's a reciprocity and the town of Dunn got a big grant for 5 miles of road work.
I
So,
heard that.
yeah, so the town of Dunn, when somebody retired in their public works department, they didn't replace it. So then this reciprocity really comes into play because our guys go over with our trucks and then they help haul gravel. And then they do the same for us when so like when we were doing the project on, is it Murray Road where the
Danger, where it's
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
it's Maria.
yeah, so then we got help from the other municipalities, it's that reciprocity, and, so that might take a lot of our guys' time this summer, so. Yeah. Okay, that was really all.
Okay. Anything else for number 6 before I jump over to 7? So 7 is just a quick talk about road work and equipment and the loan related, and it's really tangential to that, but Kathy Pennington sent a message, and I just wanted to make sure that Harlan, you saw that.
What did which of the many messages and what did it say?
Yesterday, and it had the $20-something thousand quote for our share of the road work.
Yeah.
Alpine Drive.
Yes,
Yes.
And
it
you
was-
got a-
Actually,
Came
it's-
and ran, or came and drove with Sandor yesterday,
oh,
Right.
so,
okay, so I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
the right people had it.
And it's $26,258, which is for 1.63 miles is what a deal.
Yeah.
So this is an incredible price and again, just adds on to the 2024 opportunities.
Right, and it's too good to pass up.
it's
So-
also, we don't have to bid this, so I shared that with everyone, we don't have to bid it when another municipality is doing the work.
Okay.
So,
Super.
so this is exempt from the bidding requirements that we did for the other work we had in the top.
So Arlen, do you want, so Kathy sent this email to me, copied you and Jennifer, not sure who else, somebody at the town of Brooklyn. Do you want me to get back to her and just say that it's being covered by the committee and then we'll talk about it on Tuesday?
Yes.
And vote on, okay,
Yes.
I'll do that.
Yes.
And I'll copy it.
Because it's still taking official action that we're going to do it. Or not do it.
Right.
And that also includes some of the work that we've already bid, that's more than the budget.
Right, right. So you'll have a recommendation on Tuesday and we'll.
Yes.
Perfect.
Was
Oh,
in my brain thinking about how, like, when you make a motion to approve this, or you make a motion to approve the road work. If we haven't, since it would exceed it, if the motion would include something like. The financing will be obtained, or something, we're gonna be borrowing money, or however
Yes.
you would like to cover that.
Right.
That
Right.
overage.
That we need to acknowledge that money needs to be borrowed to cover these opportunities of good bids.
right.
Yeah,
Something
thank
to
you,
that
And
thank you.
And you had a question about funding it early, funding it prior to getting loan proceeds, and we should have general fund for this amount.
I think we can ebb and flow it a little bit within our budget if we, as long as we get it before the end of the year so that we kind of equal out. But that's what I just was like, wanting to make sure that we at least included it in the motion so that.
Yep.
Because more than likely, the loan won't come till after September 1st.
Yep.
Because, and the last time we did it, we put in our bid that we weren't gonna pay them after September 1st. We didn't do that this time, but I think it'll be okay, because it's not a huge chunk of money, so.
Did
Yeah,
you,
it's not a huge one, and you also have the roadwork by Farner in Penn they'd be starting in June,
Okay,
so things are happening, and we need to get them the commitment that move forward.
okay.
just related to the bids, the road bids. Did someone double check the actual bid document as far as whether a bid has to be for the full project or whether it can be the partial project? And what I'm thinking is the Payne and Dolan that just bid
No,
on.
no, we are not contracting with Payne and Dolan, we'd be contracting with Farner.
No, I understand that, but Payne and Dolan submitted a bid
Yes,
for only part of the project. I'm just wondering whether the language in the bid documents.
so that's a good question. Let's take a quick look at that today with other people that are familiar with it. My feeling from contract that I'm doing is that we wanted a complete job. And they did not provide a complete job bid, and so I don't think that we should be accepting it.
Right, and I'm getting at, is that language in the bid document? In,
We will check to see if we can accept any bid.
okay,
Accept or reject. So I think we'll check the language. If not, we will also be looking to have that language in
yes,
future.
yeah, I was just gonna
Future
say,
road work.
I was just gonna say that, yeah. Okay, good to know.
So in terms of the discussion on the loan and stuff, in my brain, I'm thinking, would you guys like to see sort of like, I don't know how to do this that would best fit your brain and my brain, but like this kind of loan and what we're gonna need to take out, because I think the idea would be is that we would be taking out an amount of money that would cover. We know we want to cover the overage for the road work this year. We got the added Alpine Road. We've approved one portion of the village, which has to be included in this loan. That's going to be done this year. Then we would want to estimate what we would need for the plow truck. That's the next piece of equipment that's on order.
Public Works project.
Yeah, the Public Works project. And then you would also have
There might be.
the road work for next year. So I think you'd want to be taking out a loan that would encompass all of that. So should I start kind of a running list of what those
Yes.
amounts are? Would that
Yes.
help you
I think
guys?
that'll help a lot.
Okay, and then we can just add to it as you
Yeah.
add projects or amounts of money.
Yep.
But able to estimate the plow truck with like whatever potential would it be by the time it gets here?
Okay.
There's also, can you not also have a contingency piece? Which is undesignated, but since we're always looking for some emergency or that the cost change or something, that
Yeah.
we have a reasonable amount in that, lined up in that loan with a goal of keeping our the tax levy to our citizens running fairly consistent.
What we don't have, if you're asking, we have to give them a loan amount that we want.
Yes.
We can't, unfortunately can't fluctuate that loan amount, but the loan amount that we ask for, that loan amount that you want to do, you can fluctuate those totals a little bit up and down.
Within that.
Yeah, but the loan amount we have to give them,
Yes.
it's not like a line of credit where you can take it and use it, yeah.
I'm looking at something that is a finite
Yeah.
thing, but within that finite
Yes.
thing,
Yeah.
that we have.
Absolutely.
That contingency fund.
Yeah.
Because somehow or other.
Well, it's like Marie
the-
Road.
The roads, if nothing else, will find a home for it.
Yeah, it's like Marie Road, really.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we didn't expect Marie Road to be on our radar at all. And to have like an unallocated, not unallocated, but unspecified, like here's road A, road B, road C, here's a contingency fund for unknown
Yeah.
maintenance repairs.
That's what I was, in my brain, I was thinking more of that, like a 10 to 20%, you know,
It should almost be,
overage.
it should almost be both. It really should almost be both, because you're talking about like road A, that's that project, and it could be 10 or 15% off. But then you also have the unexpected that could happen, so it really should be both.
It should be both, and it's also truck an
Well,
unspecified price
well-
when it's delivered.
And I think
Well,
what would
that's
bring
true.
us to another thing is that when we talked about the last truck, we talked about how we were, I think what confused me a little bit about the last time we were borrowing for equipment was we talked about not including the resale value when we go to borrow for the next piece of equipment, and instead taking the resale value and sort of putting it in kind of a savings account
Yep.
that we could use if interest rates were really high, that we would be able to pull from it. So that would be something to consider
I
this time around, if you want to.
I like,
Or we would always offset,
I think that's a
price.
fair way to do it. I like that.
because then we're trying to guess at what we're going to get in auction,
Right.
which is what we're doing right now.
Right, right. I like the idea of separating. Here's the sticker price, right? Here's what we have to pay to the dealer. That's the financed amount. The trade is separate. The trade goes into, maybe it's a road fund, maybe it's a more equipment fund, where it goes somewhere. There's some restriction on that, isn't there? Or am I thinking of something else? Okay,
That would be fine. I think the confusing thing is we usually always traded it back into the dealership, and that's where now we've just noticed that hasn't been as good as it going to auction. So there's also been a change just in the way that
Yeah.
equipment has been cycling through. So who knows what it'll be like?
so we'll need to, it would be helpful too, and maybe we can't do it Tuesday, or I don't know when we're gonna do it, but to see how whatever additional financing translates into mill rate. And how it affects like every $100,000 of somebody's assessed value.
This financing we would be doing would be replacing.
Right, right.
So this one we wouldn't, it's not.
I'm thinking more if we go
acting.
over, if for some reason we, for whatever reason.
I mean, it's obviously gonna be more expensive loan because the interest rate's gonna be higher.
Yes,
And the
right.
amount of money we're gonna pull is gonna be higher.
Yeah.
But that's just,
But that's just sort of marginal.
Yeah.
I was thinking.
I mean,
more-
that's gonna happen every year regardless.
I was thinking like above and beyond your laddered replacement
Oh, sure.
process. If all of a sudden we have to, whatever, $200,000 project, you know, that's gotta go, and then whatever, I'm making stuff up here at this point, but if for some reason it were urgent, we had to do this thing, we should always sort of consider what the impact on the taxpayer is, you know? And I think in most cases, when you take it over a couple of years or whatever, we should look at the loan terms also and talk about that, like as they compare to whatever we're actually financing. Because I think we could go a little longer on some of these things.
The one thing about the shorter term loans though, is like with this loan, you know, we'll take it out. You know, we're gonna just be projecting out 2 years for our loan amount, because then there's another loan coming due, and then we'll be projecting out again another 2 loans. So it works kind of nice where you're not having to look really super long-term with your loans. You're looking a little bit more before you would replace another. It's just the loan amount might be a little bit bigger
Right,
than what you're replacing.
right.
Which brings me to, when I talked to Abel yesterday, as we talk about what the road work would be in 2025, because that loan would include, hopefully include what 2025 is. we put 140 in the budget this year for road work. In my brain, operating expenses are going to increase, which always is gonna cut down on what's gonna be able to be put into that road work line item. But the biggest change is going to be is the increase in salaries for the Oregon Fire and EMS
Yes,
and our portion. And so it really relates to it coming out of that road budget because none of our other budget items are gonna go down to be able to cover that. It's the only thing that can really come down, and it's the only thing we really can borrow for is the roads.
Right.
So throwing it out there, just think, it's 140 this year. I mean, this seems extreme, but like 100,000 maybe could be in 2025 for the roads. So then
Yeah.
whatever you would think of what you would want to spend in 2025 on the roads, think that maybe the budget could add $100,000
and then,
into that.
and then finance above.
And then finance would be above and beyond.
You had projected, or not projected, but stated what had been spent in the past
Mhm.
10 years?
Yeah.
And that was, excuse me, always in between, well, over 200 to over 300.
Mhm.
So if, you know, just a bad average is 250 to 300,000 is what we've been spending
Mhm.
annually, and I see no reason to expect it to be less. We can hope, or we can neglect.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be less. I mean, I think we need to keep on
So
top
we
of roads.
need to be targeting that bubble in that 250, 300
Right.
range.
And really what it means is, so the one source of funds is giving us 100,000 toward roads. The other source of funds, which is financing, is gonna give us another 150 to whatever it is, whatever it is we
150 to
need.
200.
I mean, I'm thinking of your schedule, that it was an older draft, I think, but as you took it over 5 years or whatever it was, even 250 or 300 was lower than what your estimates were. I think.
Well, that's where
was
we
more like-
were.
It was more like
The
5.
question from the committee was, what's the limit?
Right.
Excuse me, got the old proverbial frog in the throat here. So they're dealing with the vacuum of information. We're getting better information on history. We have, so I think we can be also trying to target that. And then we have the wild card of what happens if we score on a grant.
Mhm.
I think we'll find a way of living with that problem.
Yeah.
And still be chewing up that budget pretty good. But anything that we can do to increase our investment or get an investment that keeps the roads working well, maintained well, and not having catastrophic.
I don't
The big jobs
Right,
constantly.
Are there other fire and EMS equipment purchases on the horizon? There's some, I know that everybody's talking about it, but I don't know if there's anything.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be in the village, they've been hinting and talking about a ladder truck. That's gonna be a very large investment.
Right,
Um,
2025 or beyond? Or they don't-
probably beyond 26,
Okay,
27 possibly, but
yeah,
that's all pure, as far as the it all depends. I mean, they have to meet their own standards when buildings get X amount of stories, at least 3 stories, they have to, or
Mhm.
3 or over, they have to go with the ladder. That's
right,
sounds like that is happening and going to happen. I know in Brooklyn, they are still talking about the truck that they haven't found or ordered yet. And I don't know, they canceled the committee meeting in April. So we won't be meeting until for a couple of weeks, but that is on the horizon. I think
maybe-
I think I was able to get the conversation to a used vehicle or a repurposed vehicle rather than the new one they initially talked about. I've got the. So
okay, so we've got, so there's always an unknown.
There's
for fire
always-
EMS. You know, we just don't, we don't control that.
and the
So
village,
that, I
the
think,
village is growing. I mean, they're adding more personnel and.
right,
And if it's, the interesting part will be, one nice thing not living in the village is it's gonna be a real contested. I think when they start talking about where are they gonna put, where is the fire station going to be?
Yeah, true.
I know where people stand, but that's about all.
So not that we don't talk about budget every single meeting, but this is, I mean, these are the reasons why it's important to have serious budget discussions a couple times a year, a couple, 3 times a year, and actually take some action based
Right.
on new information, new changing situations.
I think that's a good big task for us this summer, to be having those work sessions, to be working on the budget and how to satisfy it,
Yeah.
and the options that we have, because
Mhm.
we're gonna be having the constant pressure
Right.
from the fire departments.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Jennifer?
I would just like to say, so something that you guys were talking about in terms of the fire district and, the fire districts do their budgets a little different too. So the Oregon does it, so their capital, which we borrow for, the town of Oregon borrows for that capital, is a separate line item, and we know we borrow for it. Belleville and Brooklyn don't really do it that way, they just lump it into their budget. It's very possible if the town's interested of asking for just maybe what portion of the budget's for capital. So when we're going to borrow, we're borrowing for all the capital equipment for all the fire stations. That might be another thing you would maybe want to consider. Cause that is our 1-year loan, so we
Yeah.
borrow it within a year and then we pay it off, for the capital equipment that's to the fire specifically. We currently only do it for Oregon, but there's no reason we couldn't do it for both.
Yeah, and I don't know the Brooklyn number. I mean, I know the overall Belleville number is not very much, so it would just be an add-on if we decide to do Brooklyn. Or if Brooklyn will accommodate that, then we can just sort of add on.
And sometimes we know with Belleville, because they'll be very hot and heavy talking about something and we'll know what our portion is.
That's true.
And sometimes we don't know until after, but
Right.
it's something to consider when you're going to the budget meetings for the fire and EMS for Brooklyn.
Yep. We're at about 8:45, so we should probably wrap up here unless anybody's got anything pressing.
We got our work ahead of us.
I will reach out to Tim
Okay,
and
great.
ask him to attend the next board meeting.
And he'll be back
I think he said he'll be back on Monday.
the day before.
Yep, so.
That's great.
And then I have also on that agenda, talking about assignments where you would like
Yeah.
Tim to go, so if you,
For one.
okay, so. Yep. And then,
And Steve, I might ask you to do sort of like one joint meeting with
Yeah.
Tim down there just to transition.
Mhm.
That would probably be best.
Oh, wait a second, I think it's.
I don't remember what Kate. What
It's like
Kate was on.
Senior center.
Lori Senior Center.
Gone into hibernation
Right.
for the time being, given that we have the 5-year
Right,
arrangements
right.
like that one, there won't be much to do with that. I guess Arlen and I discussed my officially joining the road and safety.
Part of the road committee.
Yeah, I would like to join that committee.
Yeah. Let's talk about the communication committee too, because we want to talk about handbooks and we
Yeah.
want, and still whether we do any kind of
Yeah, and
resident communication.
I was gonna say something about the budget thing. I think it'd be really great to have a midsummer little burst of some sort, maybe just on the website to explain to the residents what we're doing with the budget.
Mhm.
And these issues are things that when you hear about them, you start to get an idea of really why we're so strapped and why it's so difficult.
Mhm.
And, I was just thinking that instead of waiting until what is it, the annual meeting?
Yeah.
We
Right.
should start preparing people and pointing out what the issues are this time. Because every year, isn't it a little bit different too? There are new dimensions to, like, if they're gonna build a new fire station, that's gonna be a
Mhm.
huge thing that year, whatever yeah.
and I would love, we could have like a mid-year budget where I could print off, hey, this is what we spent in all these categories.
Yeah.
I just, it's a lot to present at a board meeting. So I've held off doing it, but when you guys would be ready, I can have that information and we could do that at this midsummer sort of that you're looking at, like, here, here's where we are
Or as we go into.
6 months in.
In September, we meet with the village about the fire, right before that.
Sure, yeah.
Right around that time would be a good time to kind of give people a heads up about what we're dealing with.
If we can have like that, like a few weeks in advance, so we can really dig into it and.
Yeah,
Overall, we can't communicate not enough.
Oh, correct.
No,
So-
just to say what we're looking at,
No, I'm saying,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm absolutely saying we should do that.
what we have back.
On a regular basis,
Yeah.
whether it's once a quarter, once every couple of months, whatever it is.
I mean, I'm just saying if people knew how every single thing that somebody wants us to do, they focus on and they don't see the big picture, how it's all
I'm
wrapped
just trying
up.
to tell you there's a packet over there.
It's all wrapped up in the same budget
Right.
and that's why people, think we're
Well,
spending.
It's
money.
not, I mean, I don't know how many of you spend time reading other town minutes, but that seems to be a pastime I've invented lately.
Oh, yeah, I bet that's fascinating.
I mean, it is absolutely, I was reading the town of Draper, which happens to be,
Where is that?
that's up near Winter, Wisconsin,
Oh.
up near in that area.
Where you're gonna
And
open
so
your green,
they have
your
the-
greenhouse.
They have, yeah, this is my, the same thing, the same people coming in saying the same thing. And they particularly were upset that they would charge to rent the town hall, or that they needed a town hall at all. So
Yeah,
these are not uncommon issues
So- so
everywhere,
we're-
and they're still going on, and they're still rotating through. And
They
it's
just
always
go
the
on
out
and
of towners, and
Yeah.
so, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I've said it multiple times, but with budget related things, we are not doing anything frivolous. There is no it's just the basics. We're trying to cover the basics and that's our job. Our job is to do that.
But we have responsibilities.
Yes, we do. But we've been reasonable and I think we'll continue to be reasonable about it.
Tough decisions, always.
Okay, anything else? It's getting close to our meeting, so last chance before I wrap it up. And then without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
thank you.
Go ahead.
Yes.